Good prompt. Thank you very much for embarrassing me.
You know that little kid that was somehow in that room online keeps
Yeah.
Meta keeps suggesting that I should be her friend. I'm like, can I just
Just
like
no. What?
it's weird, like it keeps everyone that we walked past when we tried that comedy fest thing. It keeps trying
Yeah.
to suggest to me that I should be their friend.
See, I did. I made a mistake. I installed something called Big Screen.
Mm.
Where you go into. I don't know if you tried it. You go into
Yeah, I did that
cinema.
too. It's
Uh,
pretty good.
yeah. It is pretty good.
Mm.
I enjoyed the app, but again, all these friend suggestions. It's like,
Mm.
no, I don't. I don't want to be friendly to
I'm
any of
not
you
here to make
guys.
friends.
Yeah.
All right.
Right.
So let's start with what the fuck is going on today. All right. So here's where we're at. I'll just reorient my fucking self here. Where the fuck are we? Um. Oh dear. Oh no. Oh dear. Oh dear. Oh dear. Okay. 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 Add a customer.
Right.
Please provide the
So
name.
lost back.
Okay.
See.
Oh shit. Sorry. Not
Oh,
me. Not me. Wrong
see.
button. There we go.
Let's see.
Please provide the customer name. Charles.
Okay.
Bum 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 bum.
It was.
Oh, whoopsie. Anyway,
Oh,
whatever, whatever. That
okay.
was
Yeah,
my
yeah,
bad.
yeah, yeah.
You got the point.
Yeah.
So fuck. Okay, so uh,
Okay. All right.
what's
Go through that
happening
then.
here?
Do it
Um,
quite quickly. So something to the right path. Was
so
that
this is
path
this is part of
in
the help.
existence?
This is the help is this document in effect.
Okay.
Okay, and so this is the directory that the help starts in. So like the top
Mm-hmm.
level directory. So the first to execute the help, the first thing you do is go change directory to this top level directory, which
Uh-huh.
is used to drive the state board.
Yep.
Then
Okay.
we've got the list of commands that need to be used as part of this help. So it's
Yep.
really just
Yep.
change, yeah. And then
Yep.
this is the instructions. You'll note the nice helpful tooltips that I gave here.
Oh,
Um,
very nice.
and
Very swanky.
and then the checklist is the last thing, which is the done condition. Doesn't actually do anything right now, but it seems like in the future we'll
Oh,
need
it's a
that.
test.
Yeah, like
That's the test. Yeah.
how do you know that you did this correctly?
Yeah.
Then, so once this is the help that has been identified by the goalie.
Yeah.
The goalie searched for this goal and received back this help. Again, that's
Yeah.
completely faked at the moment. There's no actual help search going on. There's only one help, and it's this help, and
Okay.
so that needs to be built.
Yep.
Then we've got your favorite icon, the blinking cursor.
Uh-huh.
This executes that command. This is
Yeah.
pulled in from the artifact API.
And this.
Obviously, my lack of documentation is laid bare here because it
Yeah.
doesn't show much else.
Yeah.
And then the output of that command is just simply here. You
So
can.
that's all informational.
It's all
That.
informational. This is all
Yeah.
mechanical. The AI switches between these two modes. It goes in goaling mode and it goes in runner mode. This is
Yeah.
runner mode where the AI is indicating what commands to call and with what parameters. You can't see it here, but under the hood, I think I spat some logging out. Under the hood, this is what the AI wanted us to call.
Yep.
and it was
Uh,
the function named app CRM customers add. That looks
mm-hmm.
ugly as sin because I'm not allowed forward slashes in the function names that I send to OpenAI. Fuck them.
Yeah.
Arguments, we got name Charles whatever, right? So that's that's pretty self-explanatory there. Then the AI told Artifact to execute this command with those parameters that I just showed you. That
Yep.
produces ultimately this output, which means
Yep.
that the chain-based system has changed state in some way, and it gave us some
So
output.
path one. Not a lot of information there.
Yeah, but this is under the hood. I mean, I don't
Yeah. Yeah.
know.
Okay.
It's not what the idea is that so you add the customer, right? And then the second thing, which was given in the instructions here, once added, use the CD command to change directory to the new customer path. That will look
Yep.
something like blah 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 blah. So
Yep.
it does the CD using the path, and you'll appreciate that although there is only two parameters that could be chosen for this CD command, there are, I promise you, more complex functions that need to be called on occasion, and
Mm-hmm.
they will all just simply display rather nicely um, in this little box here to show you what parameters were used to call that command. Now, when you execute this change directory, the idea is the state board will change to now show the new customer that just got added. That's why the change directory command is issued.
Okay.
Okay,
Yep. Yep.
and then that's it. You're done.
What's behind the hood then? What have you told it about the structure? You've told it what it means to add a customer.
Under the hood, the goalie and the runner have been prompted very generically. I will pull up their prompts for you.
Uh-huh.
The goalie prompt, I've started logging whenever I call OpenAI. I just log shit out here.
Yeah.
This is the goalie prompt. I will make you a nicer window for how you can see that, but it did take a little bit of prompt tuning, but I tried not to do much because that's sort of your speciality.
Yep.
It's prompted very generically, so there's nothing specific about the CRM or anything. You can sort of see that sort of leak through in the fact that when it figured out the goal, it really had no idea what the fuck I was talking about. It's like add a customer to a system. It's like, well, you are a
Mm-hmm.
CRM, So
Yeah.
there's a problem brewing here that is like, how do I give the goalie a notion of context? Like,
Oh, that's constraints. No, we were talking about that a few weeks ago. So you can pistol whip it into knowing that you're here to do nothing else other than CRM.
no,
So
yeah,
that's
but it shouldn't be. I need a way so that that prompt I just showed you still stays generic, and that it's what I think I do is I inject that prompt with the top level apps that it has installed already, so that it knows what the user has already provisioned for it.
oh yeah, but that's the goalie, isn't it? The
Yeah,
the goalie is there to understand. Add a customer um, should map to an app that it knows about. It's like a customer is known by a CRM. A CRM knows about add and knows how to add Charles. Therefore, we know the thing. It also needs to be able to deal with ambiguity. So, say if there's two
yeah,
CRMs,
I know what it needs.
yeah,
How do you do it? Is the question, and how do you do it in a general way so that the specifics come based on the artifact state.
What do you mean by artifact state?
Well, I don't want it in the prompt because that would mean that if you made this prompt know about the CRM, then that's not a generalized goalie. That's a specific goalie.
Right. Okay. So what the way I'd do that is, if you flip back, the add a customer. There's a few tokens here. Add customer. Okay. So there's two things here. Customer involves some kind of app. Now, the context that you're in is hierarchical. Yeah. So
Yeah, but
if
you
you're
don't.
at
You
the
don't.
top,
No. You don't know that until you ask this first. You get this second.
right, but it can assume that you're at the top level.
Right. Well,
So
by default, you're at /.
right, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So the prompt needs to at least know you've been asked something.
Yeah.
Look in apps.
Yeah. Okay. So,
So
so, so how I was thinking I would do that is that whatever you've got installed in apps, I will inject the summaries of what that can do into the goalie prompt so that it's dynamic, so that there's a base goalie prompt that you can tune and get going, but then whatever ultimately gets installed under apps also gets injected in as a dynamic variable into the prompt, and then
yes,
that should make these goals be a lot more context aware and not sound so vague or so unknown.
yes, but there also needs to be some kind of crawler that goes down into the apps.
Oh right, yeah.
That's
I
not
think
the
that that's simply part of the installation process. That's a good point. What I'll have to do then is when you install anything in the apps, it updates the summary of what the capabilities of this instance can do.
yeah, yeah,
Now,
yeah.
what's sort of weird about this um, is that I need this prompt to respond correctly. If you've got no CRM, then add a customer to a system should return a help that says you need a CRM. Here's a selection of
Well,
CRMs.
yeah, that's fine. That's just a circle. So you've got the inner circle, which is what you know. Outer circle is what can you find out. And the third circle is what can you build, innovate. So all that's doing is saying, I don't know, add a customer. What the fuck are you talking about? No idea. Let's go out to the vector space of everyone that we know about. Does anyone know what a customer is and what an ad is? And then return that. And then there should be, probably to be polite, it looks like you need to be installing a CRM. Would you like to install the CRM? Sort of step, just to be nice. But you
Okay.
don't really need to do that. But so it's the inner circle. Remember, right at the start, we had three circles.
Yeah, I know. So
So
are you
this is the
saying to
first
me
one.
then that there should be a a multi-stage. So first it just generates the goal, plain and
Yeah,
simple, and then it runs a vector search on what it has installed to try and get a bit more context from what's installed under /apps. And
yeah,
then it
yeah,
okay, and then what it does is it reassesses what its prompt was based on its things that it has installed or not, and then it
yeah.
makes a decision on what the most suitable help to get is there, right?
Yes. Now, my question is, what's your current thinking about the model? Because we've flipped backwards and forwards on the model a
Oh,
bit.
the model's a fucking nightmare, I tell you. Just give me a second, and I just want to make a note. You just made me realize that oh, you're right there, man. It sounds a bit chesty.
Yeah, yeah. Deepest, darkest, and we've got yesterday there was a storm coming through. Tomorrow's storm coming through. This is basically the nastiest part of Scotland right now. It's lovely in the summer,
For 2 weeks, and then
and then the midges come out.
right.
Also,
That's
really,
right. Yeah, a bunch of
also
desperate insects.
that was also complete bullshit because I really should stop smoking, but I have not yet.
Hang on a second. Something's happening.
Yep.
Someone's ringing me. Just give me a second. Hang on.
Yeah, no worries.
Hey mate. Hey. Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Yeah. 12D and okay. 12D and 4D on the Air Vanuatu flight. Oh, okay. Oh, sweet. Okay. All right. Cool. I'll. Yeah. No worries. Yeah. I tried to check in for you, and then I sent Makiko another email, and I was just waiting to hear back. So yeah, I'll keep on it for you. Okay, buddy. Uh, safe travels. I'll see you soon. Yep. Okay. Sounds awesome. In LA. Okay, mate. All right. I'll see you later. Bye. Sorry, mate. I'm just trying to organize a bunch of people to come out to the island.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, rolling out from New York City, so that's cool.
Yeah, I was trying to get my whiteboard set up because I'm going to want it, but for some reason it's not letting me.
Yeah. Okay, so is it? I think that it is correct that actually Hal has this underlying goal that says that if you don't have oh, hey Chris, if you don't have an app installed, then it will try and find you one, which is kind of like its whole purpose.
Right, that's what we we're talking about the other day, right?
Yeah.
What you want is a blank canvas. So say there's no apps involved at all. And it goes, I don't know what a customer is. I don't know what an ad is. I don't know what a system is.
Mm-hmm.
Fine. So then you go out to the vector space, which is your trusted people
Yep.
and trusted HALs, and then you come back and want to know what this is. It's like, oh, it looks like a CRM. Could be something else. Could be a way of detonating customers, and you want to add it to the list of detonations. We don't know, but you get the reason that I'm saying you put in just to be polite, saying oh, it looks like you're trying to be a CRM, or it looks like you're trying to kill.
Yeah, right. And so that capability needs to be restricted on some applications. So when it's working, like when it's working in kiosk mode, there's a restriction on how far out it can go to find a way to do new capabilities.
Well, that's easy enough. Again, constraints as one of the sys prompts, saying you will consider this app and no other apps.
Right.
Boom. You got your constraint.
Okay.
That's a single liner.
Okay, so I need to.
I'm loving constraints, by the way. I've been using constraints quite a lot.
All right. So I will need to make this goaling process be multi-stage, so that it first has an initial go at it, and then looks to its local vector space.
Yep.
And then makes another attempt at it, and then looks to a wider vector space, depending on how that went.
Right. And just before your call there, what was the question I had was on the underlying structure, the data structure of that hierarchy. So you remember we were talking about at each level after slash, so apps slash CRM. CRM has a definition which is effectively injected into the sysprompt. So now you know what a CRM is trying to do, and gives you some kind of search capabilities, and also surfaces actual actions. And then it goes,
No,
okay,
it's
so,
oh yeah. So that I had to change all that.
uh-huh.
That doesn't work because
Oh, I'm running out of power. Oh, poop my.
let me.
Sorry, carry on. I just put. No, I put my cable out. That's all.
That's right. So that doesn't work because there are too many functions to include.
But isn't there just isn't you just being hierarchical? You can inherit functions, so you don't
Yeah,
need to
but you
state them each time.
well, no, but they need to be processed by GPT, and so
Uh,
the
well,
approach
yeah,
I've
but
taken
GPT
here.
knows about hierarchies.
Hang on,
Sorry,
mate.
go on, go on,
Let me
go.
just
Sorry,
finish.
go.
So
Yeah, yeah.
the way that I broke that up in the help system is to specify which commands are relevant to executing this help file. And so
Yep,
here, for example, I only need two commands,
yep.
and it allows me to have commands that might jump around the place, like they might be located all over the file system. But for this
Mm-hmm.
help, I can pull them in one place altogether, and then execute them here. So that's how I've been approaching that problem.
No, that makes sense, but it's the discovery I'm talking about, not about the execution, not about the action. So
Well,
let's say, uh, sorry, if you can give me one minute, I'll
yeah,
explain what I'm saying. So, right, you got a whole bunch of basically AI DOS commands that are always available, and those are fairly well, they're atomic. You can't do anything about that. You got a CD in it. Okay, so we tell it this is the hierarchy. But then what we want is a discovery. So it doesn't know about customers. How is it going to search for that same? Which my laser pointer. Where's that first cycle? So it goes into apps, and then apps should, I think, have some kind of description which gives Hal at least a
oh yeah,
fighting chance.
I see what you're
I know
saying.
about these
I
bits.
see what you're saying. In this process, I'd abandon that path because you don't have time. Because you keep, like you can't afford the time it takes to do that loop. Whereas,
Uh, uh, hmm.
well, I mean, how many loops were you talking about just for this simple command?
Well,
Right,
this one.
one,
Okay, well, that's a good
two,
question actually.
three,
Right,
four,
we know about
five.
CDs, so let's not. Yeah, so you go into
Yeah,
apps. Do I know what customer is? I know about a CRM that knows about customers. Fine. Go into CRM. What do you know about? I know about ads.
all right. So three,
Um, okay. And you go into customers. Okay, right,
four,
fine. And then the final one is execution.
five. So you've done five loops. Each loop is about
Yeah.
8 to 10 seconds. You're now a minute deep. Do you still have your customer's attention?
You're the one saying it's just going to get faster though.
I know.
It's the question. The question is this the right structure for a blank canvas, or
Yeah,
do we want
because
to?
yeah, I feel like you're missing the point of the helps here. The helps can be anything, and they arrive with instantly what you need.
Well, there's two things that we can do here, right? We can do discovery, which involves iteration, or we can do flat, which involves a big sysprompt.
Well, no, there's the helps are not a big sysprompt. The helps are like a retrieval of a sysprompt.
Yeah, but retrieval and a sysprompt, really the same things. It's flat or is it recursive?
I think it's flat because this discovery process, you could run that, but your chances of success are low, and you're going to have errors, and it's going to take a lot of time, no matter how fast it gets. because of the fact that it has to loop. Now,
All right. Okay. So yeah,
you
I
can
get
then
you.
you can then
So
use that process to generate automatically, I imagine, a summary help file. If you've used
all
the
right.
discovery to figure out how to do it quickly, then you
Yeah. Yeah.
make
Yeah.
one of these, and then you're done.
I get you. Sorry, mate. Sorry, for talking over you. But yeah, I get you. Okay. So there's a middle ground here, isn't there? Where so we've got our 3 cycles. The stuck loop. The first cycle, apps goes in and I would assume would look for. I know about CRMs. I know about booking holidays. I know about buying dogs. Whatever. Then I'm going to the next one, and then at that point it goes everything that you need to know about CRM in one boom. Now
That's not
the
how I. That's not how I made it, and it's. I don't think I can make it like that
yeah, okay,
because,
that's a shame.
well,
Because how do you install an app, or how do you uninstall an app?
um, to delete an app, you would go, hi, Hal, I want to remove the CRM. And then it looks for a goal that says remove the CRM. It knows that you mean the CRM installed locally because it was injected with the list of installed apps. And then it should pull up a help that says, okay, first you need to check if the user really meant to delete it because it's unrecoverable, get them to
Yeah.
perform the safeguard, and then issue the command rm space
Okay,
dash rf.
that sounds a lot like what it's meaning. Perhaps not what it said. Where in the back office is this text? So that you've got, right? You're
Say
telling it
again,
how
you
to.
just you glitched then.
Oh, sorry. Where in the back end is this? So I'm assuming this is
This is
the
retrieved from goal space. This panel,
right. So
everything in this panel is a help. It was indexed by the goal. It was retrieved from an unlimited search space using this goal to find it in vector space. And then this
yep.
help was chosen as the most relevant help to the current query given the context of what's installed at the moment.
Right. Okay. I don't think we're far off. So what I was saying is the ideal would be discovery all the way down, but
No,
injection up.
I don't know.
Um, but
Discovery is unreliable. You can't make an enterprise system relying on Discovery to work. Discovery is
okay.
possible, but these helps are the condensed, certified, checked, and tested version.
Yeah, I don't think we're talking about different things here, but I think I'm just making a shit job of explaining it.
We're talking about something very
So,
different. You're talking about being able to work out what to do, and I'm talking about having a library of pre vetted things
no,
that say what to do.
no. What I'm talking about is having a library of pre-vetted things to do, which you're loading on the fly.
Hmm?
So how do you know
But
what to load on the fly?
that's the goal. The
Because
goal is used to find that. It's not it's not
um,
a walk down discovering. It's flat.
uh, it, it's not slightly. Well, okay. Can you show me what you've done in the background? Because
Sure.
what you're saying sounds very similar to what I'm trying to express,
It sounds
but
very
you're
different.
saying it's not.
So let's
Yeah. So we've got dissonance. Show me what you've done in the background.
sure.
The reason I'm keen on loading on the fly is to avoid hallucinations. So you only want the AI at the top level to really be considering what your current context is, and your context is very similar to the overall intent. And we're saying on the intent is just the raw stuff that Dave is saying, and then the goal is what house decided based on what it knows about the universe that you can do, and now you've got something you can actually action. So it's intent, goal, and action. Um, if you have too much flattened, then it can hallucinate. That was the example that you gave with a
No,
system. It's like a system. Which system? I don't know. It's too ambiguous.
there's no problem with flattening because because goal space is flat, and so long as goal space is giving you accurate help results, then you're not going to hallucinate.
Well, okay. So here's an example. Say if I've got the same number of apps on my, I don't know how many apps I've got on my phone. It's probably about 50, something like that. And I say, send a message to my mum. Now, does that mean WhatsApp? Does that mean message? Does that mean Messenger?
Mm.
Uh, does that mean an email?
Mm.
So you're going to get leakage between those. Now, it's fine if Hal just decides, oh, you want to use WhatsApp, and we'll stick with WhatsApp because I'm going to make a decision for you.
No,
But if it doesn't,
because
it's going
there
to
would
ask you for a
be
subject line for WhatsApp.
that would have there would have been helps that would be stored local to you. So the first time you ask that, it's like, well, I've got 3 messaging options, so I need to know which one.
Uh-huh.
And then once you'd given those answers, it should be able to update the help system with something specific to you. Now, we had called that preferences before, but we can actually use goal space to be the same thing because it's not any different in its nature.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. Yep, yep.
Yeah, and so next time you say, I want to send a message to my mother, it pulls up the help that is favored by you and had a good result from the last time it ran.
Right, right, right. This is why I've got this gut feeling we're talking about the same thing, just at different odds. So I'm calling that constraints. Um, so show us where the prompts are, where the sys prompts are for what we've
All
got at
right,
the moment.
so ultimately it figures once it's asked enough questions to get the goal, it then makes a function call against the path /hal/stucks. The stucks object has an API where you call it and you say, I want some help. You have to give it the goal that you're trying to solve for. When it receives the help, it's supposed to search goal space based on the goal that you asked for help in context of, and it will ultimately return an object that has this shape. This is help. This
Right. So what's
object is what
updated if I
the
had
highlighted blue
CRM?
is
Sorry.
this panel. All that
Right.
is just
So
this. That's the same stuff. It's just formatted
if I
nicely.
was to hypothetically, I know it's not installed, it's not written yet, but that's cool.
Hmm.
If I was to say send a message to my mum,
Yeah.
in the previous prompt, where would it look? What would change in the background?
Okay. With the system as it is now, there are no pre-populated helps, and so it would say, "Look, I don't know how to do that," and then would trigger off the process that kicks in when you've got a goal that you don't have any helps for, and you're like, we're figuring this out as we go. We don't actually know.
Right. Okay. So that the where's the name for that? I'm looking at the case help const helps type artifact instructions.
Yeah.
What's the if it decided it needed a messenger app, what would be added and where would it be added?
If it decided it needed a messenger app,
Yeah. So the
it
go space
it
is
would it would
unconstrained.
be it would be installing the app at /apps/WhatsApp.
Yep. Yep.
Um,
See.
the goal, it should have somehow arrived at being like, oh, I don't have a messenger, I need to get a messenger. So I look for a goal that says add a messenger to the system, and it comes back with some help that says here's your options for messengers that you can install: WhatsApp, SMS, email, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And then it
Yeah.
uses that help to discuss with Dave which one Dave would like installed. And then it goes on to find a new goal. Say they chose WhatsApp, it would be like the goal is install WhatsApp. It then goes through the help provided for that, and then ultimately it's got that solved, and so it rolls back out to the original, which was send a message to my mum.
Okay. And where would it remember that? In terms of, is it in stux.js? Is it
Um,
editing that?
I think that Stux would have the Stux object would have created a child,
Mm-hmm.
which is where it would keep track of the helps that were generated dynamically. But I also think that there's a separate file system collection that stores the goals, so it treats the goals like a stack, so that when you start trying to do something, it will uh, it will sort of put goals on the stack, and then when each one gets done, it will pop that one off the stack and then grab the next one and carry on with it. Because
A stack is quite a good way of showing intent. Um, if you're saying what I think you're saying. So you're saying, hey, you were talking about CRM. You're now talking about messaging mum. So
yeah,
um, let's pop the CRM thing. Is there something else that you've done in the past? Okay, so you bought a dog. Now pop that. Oh, you sent a message. Okay, now I know about messages. Is that what you're saying?
no, um, as you identify goals, depending
Mm-hmm.
on the state of the system, you may need to do some prior tasks. Like if you said, I want to send a message to my mum, and you've got no messenger app, then
Mm-hmm.
you get this new goal that is select, or is install a messenger app. On top of
Mm-hmm.
that, it's like, okay, now you need to select from these options. So now you're like 3 goals deep, where you're currently trying to select this thing. Dave can then go, oh, I need to order some cat food. So then that's like now a new goal.
Mm-hmm.
That previous 3 deep stack stays there, but now there's a new goal that's parallel to it: order some cat food. You can work on that for a bit and then switch back to messaging your mum, which takes you back to where you were in the stack, which was selecting between these available messengers and then installing them, and then ultimately sending the
Uh,
message.
is that multiple stacks then?
Yeah, I think so. I think you can the stacking aspect is because any given help assumes some preconditions. If those preconditions aren't met, you then need to engage in the the process of meeting them. And so just a simple
Yeah.
help can have these complex preconditions, but as soon as you've completed them, you should sort of jump out of that and go back to where you were in the previous level.
Yeah, yeah, right. You remember the bottle road? I think it's still somewhere. It was the holiday by dog, blah blah
Yeah.
blah, all that sort of thing.
Yep.
And it was remembering context, and it was doing a pretty decent job of switching states, saying you want to buy a dog. Fine. Now we've got a new context, and I'm going to talk about dogs because I know about
Mm.
dogs. And then, oh, I want to go to Sicily. Okay, so we're back at Sicily. The problem that you raised on that, which was a good one, which is if I were to be ambiguous about it, saying make it Sicily, it's like, do you want to buy a dog in Sicily? But that's between stacks. But multiple stacks are fine. We've already done that. That works. That works pretty nicely. Ambiguity between stacks, something we haven't really addressed yet, but we probably don't need to address if we constrain it to think just about installed apps. So the installed apps are effectively stacks. So you can talk about CRM, you can talk about other stuff, and that other stuff could be everything.
No, the installed apps have got nothing to do with a stack. It's the helps that define what any sort of stack of goals is. The apps are just there, you know, like they can be called on in combination to achieve many different things. It's the help. It's the help that tells you what to do.
Right. But what the help is doing is not what to do, because that's not really what it's there for. What the help is there for do is to make sure that any ambiguity is run to ground.
No, the help
possibilities.
the help that I've been using here is the exact instructions required to meet that goal. The help is what to do.
Yes, okay, but with a minimum prompt, okay, let me say this another way. Let's take context switching. So, text, buying a dog and running a CRM. Working in the CRM, and you start talking about dogs. CRM knows nothing about dogs. So you need to swap out. Now, there's a different context there. It's like, is it a small one? It's a big one. Okay, now let's, you want to add a customer. Now that's to do with the CRM. So you switch back. And what you're doing is you're disregarding all the session information about dogs. So it's not trying to figure out whether you need to add an Alsatian as a
customer. Okay, yeah. So where I got to with that was that it seemed to be that where you put the sys prompt in the order of messages makes a difference. So, for example, if I have, if I have 10 messages, this is the last. Oh fuck. Oh, sorry, mate. Give me a sec. Give me a sec. Now, this is not a good example. However, the most recent system prompt in the message stream is the one that gets followed. And so what it appears to me to be the correct thing to do is to provide the full chat history, even though I'm trying to invoke the runner, and even though I want the runner to have limited context so that it sticks to its task, where I put the system prompt, I can put it late in the message flow, and then the system prompt goes in here. It appears like that's the thing that it follows. And the reason why I want to leave the rest of the thread there is because the rest of the thread is required so that the bot can interpret anything in that history that the user might have said that can help it with its current goal. So, for example, if I don't do that, the user might have said a couple of things higher up the stack that weren't significant enough to warrant a goal switch, but that were actually bits of information that were relevant to later tasks that we can use. If I give it the whole thread, I give it the whole thread, like that difference between the dog and Sicily being hot or the chili being hot, then it seems to do quite well if it's got the whole message history, because it looks at it all and it goes, oh, yeah, okay, I can see what's happened here. It follows the instructions from the last system prompt that it received and appears to ignore all the others, and then goes about its task. Now, I think what I want to point out here is that this system prompt, I dynamically generated it based on the help. So the helps serve a I had a system prompt that is a template, and then I populate it with the
Okay. Can you show us that?
Yep.
By the way, I agree with your stacking of context because it does seem to do quite well because it's not just using one word.
Yeah,
If I'm
if you
talking about holidays and I say I want somewhere hot, I want something to eat tonight, I want a curry, I want it hot, it knows, because of the context, whether I'm talking
yeah.
about curries or a
Okay, so
holiday.
here's an example of the system prompt for the runner.
Uh,
This is the template that it follows, and it's populated with the contents of the help,
yep, okay,
right? And
yep.
so the help is a way of using retrieval augmentation to boost the system prompt with more
I
than
see where you're
just,
going. I see where you're going. Okay,
right?
can you take me to where you've got text instructions? Where are those instantiated from?
The goal is the text, so that's what the goalie detected the goal was to be.
So that is dynamic
Yeah, that's dynamic,
and
and
instructions.
instructions came from the help system there.
Okay, all right. So it's identifying. Okay,
Now, how we produce helps is irrelevant. We can handwrite them at first, and we'll get very good results from it because it allows you to perfectly tune the bot based on what the goal was. And so you can hand shape it very well. We can move
yeah.
to a way to automatically generate these helps based on a process of discovery and back and forth and all that. But it doesn't matter how they get made. The point is that they represent a way to instantly do something. And it
Well,
doesn't
you
matter
generated this text
by
with
hand.
AI, right?
No,
Yeah.
this is
No,
by
you
hand.
did this. This is by hand. But
But
given a
what's
couple of instructions, it wouldn't be hard to create a bot that understands this sort of thing.
I think that you'll always find problems with it. It will always need to be hand tweaked here and there. But
No, that's fine. But it would be offline. It would be
it would
a pre-step.
be it would be the commissioner that would be used primarily by our users to build these files.
That's right. That's right. And the commissioner at the moment we can just do as a separate bot. Um, I'm very very keen on the commissioner as a blank canvas.
Right.
But what would teach the commissioner is it's a hierarchical path, and the things that you're trying to do are dictated by your next prompt. When there's next prompt, add another part in the hierarchy and propose instructions and propose done and propose what the TLD is, and any commands based on your canonical set of commands that you need in order to do that. It would be 2 or 3 paragraphs probably to get that commissioner. But the point is what we're trying to do right now, because we're bootstrapping ourselves up from fucking nowhere, nobody knows how to do this, is to write that set of instructions. So the help, the kind of the meta help that you've got just says, we'll look for something inside of these stocks and work it out. So, for example, you've got one help in there at the moment, right?
Yeah.
If I were to write half a dozen helps, I could write a commissioner to help with this because you've got one
Yeah.
example here.
That's right.
I
Yeah.
could write those
Yeah.
probably in half an hour, right,
But
and stick them in.
the point of this was that because this is the stuck covenant, if it
Mm-hmm.
can't find something suitable, it should generate a stuck. And that's the thing that the commissioner plus the wider network looks at to try and solve. And so all you're ever really trying to provide to the world is these help files where they may need some code written to be able to give you the capabilities and the commands that you tell the help to use. So
Okay.
they're basically some
Yeah.
natural.
Okay. That. Is this? So we've got the first cycle here. Um, the second cycle, when you look out to your local space, are they just advertising a file like this, saying, "Here's what I know to do. I
What do you
know
mean
what."
advertising?
Well,
The searching is always done based on goals.
yes, but the goal. So the local goal is to search through stux.js. Yeah. Okay, so I know it's loaded up, but yeah, roll with me. But if you are trying to load up something that someone else can do in your local space, then what are they advertising?
I don't understand your question at all. What do you mean, someone else
Okay, so
advertising?
yeah, okay, so we've got the idea that the vector space is a space of people that have been useful or hows that have been useful in the past that you trust, and that on the second cycle of the suck loop, you're go out to that vector space before you say, "We have no idea. Can someone build this?" So that second space, what's the thing that they're showing? Is it just
Who's
basically
they?
this?
Who's they?
Every how in your vector space that you've interacted with before,
In your network.
and
Every hell in your
yes,
network.
yeah,
What are they showing? Um, they maybe an easy way to think about it is think about it like a large database of goals. You then
hmm
those goals are in natural language, and so you use a vector search to find the similar goals.
yep, yep, and
Once you have the similar goals, you use the goals to find the helps that are attached to those goals, if any.
yeah, yeah, no, that works. That works. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, okay.
Um,
Have a look at how.js.
sure.
I'm really keen to start working in the same realm that you are because I'm still currently working on single bots.
Yeah, I know. This is one of the messiest pieces of code I've ever written. Like, this is the file. It's fucking ugly as sin. But it's kind of the problem is that I'm trying to represent the thread. Like, I'm trying to represent the thread of conversation that gets presented to the user, but then I'm trying to present to the AI two different ways of looking at it because I need to strip out all the tool calls that got made. Like, the runner doesn't need to see the tool calls from the previous run executions
Mm-hmm.
or the goalie tool calls, but then the goalie doesn't need to see the runner's tool calls. And so I'm sort of blinding the AI from each, depending
That's
on who you
constraints.
are.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
that's not
yeah.
constraints because you've been using that word to describe anything and everything. That's removing something, but you're also
It's
talking
no,
about
it's
using
no, it's
constraints.
not. It's not removing. It's disregarding. Do not consider anything to do with CRM if you're talking about dogs, for
But
example.
all I'm doing is blanking tool calls out of the thread. How is
Yeah.
that
Okay.
constraints?
Um, is that AI driven or
No,
is that code driven?
that's code. That's just pure formula.
Right. That's different. I'm talking about using the AI to disregard information that it doesn't need to consider.
I haven't done any of that at all. The AI is not. That's what you mean when you say constraints?
Right. So it's like I only want to talk to you in Mandarin. I only want to talk to you about curry, and it's
Okay,
pretty
well,
good at staying on.
All right. Well,
staying on
this
point.
this is this is the goal prompt. Um, sure, it needs work, but the the path I'm trying to head down is one where the goal detection is generic,
Mhm.
and I can maybe, as we just discussed, do like one more loop where it sort of tries to find something locally. I would prefer, I think, to just insert, say, down here, um, some extra context that just says like, or the app summaries or so, something like that, right?
Mhm.
And then I'm just
Yeah.
like, it's here's the goal, and then here's a quick summary of everything that is installed, because I think that the concept of an installed app is a valid one. It's a
Yeah.
capability that Dave has provisioned in the system. Dave would
Yeah.
expect Dave would expect you to know about these things. Dave would
And
expect that you.
also, Dave's made an action in order to do that. He said,
That's right.
"Yes,
That's right. That's right. So
I'm happy with that."
Dave
Yeah.
built up his instance with these apps, and so this the goalie should know about these things.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Absolutely. That's the first loop.
Yeah. And so I think it's a better option to just dump that in there by default, and
Yeah.
then just give it to it by default. It's not going to be more than a page or two, I'd imagine. Um, yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know, maybe, but I suspect if we get it to disregard in the tokens loop stuff that is obviously not right. So if all the app summaries come back saying I know about curries, dogs, and CRM, and you've asked about CRM, I think the following loops are going to be cheaper
Why would they be cheaper? Sorry.
because you're talking about a CRM and not dogs and curries. It seems to be quite good at disregarding stuff as long as you tell it to disregard. So, or the flip side is find the right app
Oh, right.
amongst
Yeah.
all
So
the app summaries.
one of the strategies I've been trying to apply is that template only needs to be filled out once, and then when I provide the thread or the previous message history to the runner, I would remove that from it. So I would provide only this as the prompt, because it really doesn't need to.
I just need to do that each time. Yeah, once it has the
Yeah,
context.
it's like this is the retrieval part of the prompt,
Yeah,
and the retrieval
yeah,
part is dynamic, and I don't need to provide that every single time. I don't think.
no, absolutely, absolutely. But the first time is I don't know whether we need to be bothering about this early. But the point I'm making is if you ask for dogs when you've been talking about curries, it should look at all the app summaries to see if it knows about dogs. Otherwise, it knows it's talking about summaries and knows you're not trying to make a curry out of Alsatian. So you're absolutely right. It needs to dump that almost the very first thing. But then there's another piece which we've talked about on this call about context switching, but that's something separate.
Yeah, that's
But
separate.
once it's
So I
once it's
haven't
once it's
really
got the idea, sorry, go on.
haven't really dealt with that too much at the moment. But my plan is simply that um, where the fuck is it? My plan is that in this prompt, it will, if it receives some input from the user and it
Mhm.
doesn't make any sense, then it needs to pass it back to the goalie, and the goalie will decide if we just goal switched or if there's some more stuff that needs to be done
Right,
or something like
right.
that.
Right.
So
Yeah.
so
Yeah. Exactly.
what was weird about this, and this is what I wanted to chat to you about and make sure we understood the same thing and agreed with it, is that we're saying here that the bot acts in two very distinct modes. It's either in goaling mode where it's trying to figure out what you want, or
Yep.
runner mode where it's trying to do what you just wanted. And there's a
Right.
little
Right.
bit of
Yeah.
resistance to toggle between the two. Like goal mode won't
Yeah.
just jump straight into running because it needs to be sure that it got your goal right. And running won't jump out of running because it thinks you want to complete your task before you switch in
Yeah.
goals. But
Yeah. Right. Right. Right.
you know,
This
and
is.
and and it,
Yeah.
it it changes fundamentally the nature of the machine because it's always these two personalities. It's not one thing that does
Well,
all.
maybe. Well, here's an idea. Because we've been struggling with this for a few weeks now. And remember we were saying that the three box, the runner proposes actions, but it brings you out of AI world in order to click on yes, add Karen, for example, as a button. Maybe
Uh,
that's not the right way of
no, I
doing
haven't
that.
been doing that at all. I sort of abandoned that and just trusted that um, there's an undo if you want to get out.
No, man. Okay, let me make the
Anyway,
case.
anyway,
Let,
look, that's just a user
yeah.
interface nicety.
No, I think
That's
it's. I think it's fundamental. I think it's fundamental because it answers your
well,
question.
it's yeah, but it's not gonna. You're not gonna amount to much more than just one extra message in the stream, right?
Yeah, it might be easy to do, but the let me make the case for this because you're talking about the tension between the runner and the goalie, um, and what the runner needs to do is get pistol whipped by a click with a button that says, "No, I didn't mean that." Now you could do that in the prompt for sure, but having that click, I think, is very, very important in terms of any kind of enterprise where your job's on the line. You're going, okay, so I've got a whole bunch of stuff that I know. Now it's a commit. Do I commit or have you got this completely wrong? I don't want to buy a dog in Sicily. It's like, no. And then you go back to the goalie. It's the Dave. Dave is an absolute primary part of this. We need to refer back to Dave when there's any kind of collision between goalie and runner.
Yeah, but that's just prompting and testing. That's not. I don't see that as
Well,
fundamental. That's just something that we tune into the system.
okay. Okay. Well, let me reflect back on. You're saying that there's tension between goalie and runner. So if we weren't to include Dave in that, how would we do it?
The tension is that, from Dave's point of view, the system is two-faced, and it sometimes is a goalie and it sometimes is a runner. And now it's almost like a form of sales training where, you know,
Mm-hmm.
when you're training a salesperson, say they're in customer service, and you're saying, okay, the first thing you have to do is figure out what your customer wants, and check with them what they want before you run off and do some stuff for them. Like
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
might
Yeah. Yeah.
say that if you were training a waiter for a table, you'd be like, before you run off and check if that particular meal doesn't have dairy in it, check with them to make sure there isn't something else that they need checked as well. So it's
Right.
it's
Right.
it's really just by making this choice, and I don't know a better way to do it, we have imposed a form of behavior on the system that is not tunable by prompting. It is so fundamental in it because of this flicking, where we flick which system prompt is being applied each time, and it's
Yeah.
that is a big change. What the prompts are can be tuned. but the fact that there's this switching gives it a certain feel. It gives it a nature.
Right. That's exactly what I'm saying. Which is why we need to jar Dave out of just talking to. I need to make a decision. Is this right? Um, let's take your restaurant example there. So you're about to order all this.
Just hang on a minute.
Is that
What are
right?
you What are you trying to get across to me?
I'm trying to solve, or I don't know the solution. So
Okay, so
that's
what is
number
the
one.
problem?
The problem is how to switch between a actions to be taken and the goalie, which is the understanding of the intent of Dave.
I don't think that's a
Um,
problem. That's something that we'll learn from experience, right?
okay, yeah, I thought that's what we're talking about. So
No,
the
I'm talking about the problem being that we've imposed a nature on the system. I'm not. You're talking about if we impose this nature, how do we choose? How do we tune it to work correctly? I'm saying
yeah,
that are there other ways that we could? Are there other
okay, all right,
types of
yeah.
nature
Let's
that
go.
we could
Let's go.
have?
Let's go. Yeah,
Because
yeah.
how to do it, we're already doing it, and it kind of works okay, and it'll just get better. Is it
Okay.
right to drive the bot like this? And is there some limitation that we've unwittingly introduced whereby that mode of operating, that nature, doesn't apply to a kiosk? It only applies to a CRM. It doesn't apply to, like we've excluded ourselves from certain types of operation if we
Yeah,
take
we have.
the goalie runner pair.
Yes, I agree. And let me think about this.
And I think an even bigger danger is that
Mhm,
in GPT-4 or 5 under the hood, are
mhm,
they doing this switching? And if we're doing switching and then they're doing switching, we are going to
mhm,
hit aliasing
mhm.
between where the cut lines are going to cause like um, problems, right? And
Well,
so maybe there's a way to make them do the switching. Is
well,
Yeah.
yeah. But to do it with, let me think through that. So yes, your first question is, are we going down one silo which only applies to sales and so on? It's quite a large silo. Does it apply to buying a house? No, probably not. Does it apply to buying a dinner? Yes. Curtains? Probably. Certainly yes.
But
So,
those things you just listed, I think it applies. It's basically
um,
it's basically the servant pattern.
yeah, yeah, it's master slave. Master slave. It's like the slave is trying
Yeah,
to help the master to do
right.
what the master is trying to do.
That's right. That's right.
Um, Now, are there any patterns out there that are different from that? Probably anything collegiate,
What does collegiate mean?
um, meaning you want to work with, uh, you want to have the bot not be a slave, you want to be a peer. So let's work on this poem together, and you
Would that
listen to me,
not?
and I listen to
Yeah.
you.
Okay. So would that not fall under the category of the collegiate behavior? Is the runner, where the runner is adopting the personality of the collegiate?
Um, yeah, you could do it that way.
Because
Be
here's one
very,
of the
very interesting to find. Yeah,
yeah.
sorry.
It's like you need a way to eject out. Like you sort of it's almost like the goalie acts like the concierge that takes you to the room you want to be in, and then you engage with the runner, where the runner can switch personalities. The runner can become collegiate. The runner can be simply a tool that doesn't really talk to you and just tries to execute. It could be a
Yeah,
co-author on some things. It could be part of the court. It's
that's interesting.
it's like the goalie is truly hell. It's like the overlord or the overwatch of the
Yeah,
system,
yeah.
and it
Let me think
invokes
about
the
that.
runner, but it watches the runner to make sure nothing weird happens.
Right, right. Um, So it's switching rooms is a thing that we need to look out for. So, for example, we're in Dreamcatcher House at the moment, talking about how the fuck to make AI do what we want. Okay, and we're in collegiate mode. If we were to then swap into some kind of multiplayer game, that would be different, right? Maybe I'll be trying
Mm-hmm.
to shoot you,
Mm-hmm.
or we'd be trying to shoot various bots.
Mm.
But the goal would be different. And if you consider me a runner right now, what I'm trying to do is to get the best outcome, and understand what the outcome is, and so understand what I need to be saying to get the best out of you, to get the best out of me, and so on. That's a collegiate thing. If we were to then flip into a restaurant app in VR, and you are ordering a meal, you kind of want the semi-collegiate, but you don't really want to. It's like, it's like just
Right.
at some point, right, you need to shut the fuck up and just do what I'm
Okay.
saying.
Well, how about this as a path forwards then? The goalie is what hell is, and the goalie is what we will restrict when we want to go into kiosk mode, because that's basically saying that you're only allowed to run this runner.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. Then the runner can. So here we've modified the sys prompt based on some retrievals. Like we've done a retrieval to get instructions. I've done a retrieval to get commands.
Yeah.
You could also retrieve the LLM that you wanted to run. You could make a retrieval that obliterated all this, even.
Yeah. That's a context switch, isn't it? Yeah.
And so depending on the goalie would be like the Overwatch that would make sure that this repurposed or reprompted runner didn't go astray, and it would hold like access to a safe word like Control X or Control C that would break you out.
Good to know.
Yeah, and so I don't know. I guess I'm not hearing any objections from you from this goalie runner duality.
No, I think that stands proud, and we can deal with the commissioner later.
Proud's not a word I would have used. This is an absolute mess. It looks like it was written by a drunk child, but that mode of splitting, I think we're gonna have to stick to it, because I can't think of a better way to do it, and it also presents reasonably well. Like if you look at the,
I'm starting to think,
like,
goalie is hell.
Goalie is hell, and the runner is just the machine, and runner can.
Runner's an apps. It's
so in terms of in terms of a Unix system, hell would be the shell, like bash or sh or zsh, and then the runner would be the app that you were currently executing. Right. Yeah. So the shell chooses the app, and the shell can sort of toggle in and out of an app, and you can like put an app to sleep in the background and bring another app to foreground. Your apps can talk between each other. They can do wild things on the terminal, but HAL can always control them all.
Right. And yeah.
Because I like this flow. I quite like it. Of like, okay, well, here was your goal. This was the help that we got for it, and then it begins executing. That I believe that can be used for anything.
If you add undo.
Well,
that's got a usable system there.
Yeah, so that's what the blockchain gives you. Is the blockchain is like that's that was a complete mistake. Either the runner made the mistake or the user made the mistake. It doesn't much matter, but it's just like you can undo anything in blockchain land. So
Yeah, but I don't think we can remove anything else. I'm very keen to get the commissioner up,
righto.
but
So
only to remove the necessity of writing the instructions.
you
But we can
mean
wait. We can wait for
writing the
the
helps? You
CRM
mean?
installed. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, or the instruction inside the JSON for the help. Yeah.
Okay. So how I just to triple check with you, what I think the commissioner does is if I pass this system off to the trucking guys throughout
Yeah.
the day, they'll hit a bunch of goals that have no help. Those helps will be piling up in a place that you would use the commissioner to navigate to, and you'd be
Yep.
like, "Hey, commissioner, show me all the stucks for the day."
Yep.
You'd then get a list of all the goals that the CRM guys tried to do that they got rejected on because there was no help, and because we had our safety settings high, we didn't guess. We just said, "Sorry, mate, we'll get back to you."
Yep. Yeah.
And then you
Try
would go
something
through.
else. Keep at it. Don't get
Keep at it.
disheartened.
Yeah,
You know,
keep at
do
it, buddy.
something else.
Yeah. And
Yep.
then you would sit there with the commissioner and you'd try a bunch of things and you'd try some prompts and you'd try this and try that. You might ask me to write you some code for a certain feature because it couldn't be met. And then you'd try. Ultimately, you'd arrive at a help file that you thought passed your tests in the shortest possible time for the least amount of money. And you would then publish that and say, "Good to go." The CRM guy would turn up tomorrow and he'd go to do this goal that he wanted to do before that he couldn't. This help gets fished up out of the system. It was generated by you using the commissioner. He now can have this extra capability. Is that the story
Right.
we're talking about?
Yeah, exactly. So in a completely blank system, with our three loops, if there's nothing, everything is going to go, oh, I don't know how to do that. Ask something else. I don't know how
Yeah,
to do that. Ask something else. So
yeah,
there's going to be a whole bunch of stucks. We're going
yeah.
to skip out the ask a friend loop. We're going to
Oh,
go
that's
straight to stucks.
right.
And the stucks, the commissioner is a tool to help provide that outer third cycle of the stuck loop.
Right. The commissioner is the
In
tool
order
by
to
which you can
just speed up that process. Yeah.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right. Well, that sounds like on the same page there.
I think that would be a pretty fast way of doing shit.
Yeah. Do you have a better way or any other ideas of approaches that you'd like to put forward as something to discuss? Because that
No.
that
Um,
process, what's bothering me quite a lot
mhm.
actually is the amount of effort that process is taking. Not that I'm afraid of effort. I'm afraid of effort that didn't look like it was there. Right.
Right.
This effort, we're probably 4 weeks behind where we thought we would be, and
Yep.
it was deceptive. It sounded simple to say this design, and then here we are 4 weeks later. I'm like, fuck, man, it sort of works, but there's still more labor to go.
What I'd like, okay, so yes, there is something, but you know about this one is an interface. Let's say we give it to the trucking guys, and they come back with a day one. They've got nothing,
Mm,
uh, and come back with like 50 stucks.
yeah.
Now I've got the commissioner, and I write a whole bunch of helps.
Yep.
What I'd like is a way of injecting those helps into their system, such that when they get up in the morning, they go, "Hey, I can do this. I can add a customer
You
now."
mean like you want a notification to go out, or you would just want it
No,
available if they try and do it the same thing again?
right, yeah,
Oh,
second,
that I would consider part of the minimum feature set of the commissioner.
yeah, because
Because
the
all you
what
would have done,
um
all you would have done is you've
Mhm.
modified the relationships between before you fired up the commissioner, the goals that they had set had no helps, and therefore that's what a stuck is. When you'd
Yep.
finished, the goals now had help attached, and so the next time the user goes to make that dynamic search, the retrieval step, it will
Right.
look up that same goal. It will now find it has help, and then it will apply that help. And so the features that you added are instantaneously available because
Yeah.
the retrieval is dynamic and live, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the minimum
Exactly.
feature set of the commissioner. It's not a
Exactly.
commissioner without that feature, yeah?
What I think would be wrong, just to give the contraindication, is if I need to change a single character on your code, because that's going to be pain. So, what the commissioner, I should be talking to the commissioner saying,
Yeah.
okay, I understand the hierarchy. Here's what the hierarchy is.
What
Commit
hierarchy? What's the
apps,
hierarchy?
CRM, customer, ad, for example. Right. Say
So
someone
the path,
adds, yeah. So say someone says, customer channels has brown hair. We need to remember that, and so that's a stuck.
right?
Uh, I need to take that and say, okay, so it seems to me that what you want to do is add to the CRM that a customer is has something called hair, and hair has something called color, and then put that somewhere that doesn't involve writing any code.
So that should have been something I would have been able to say. This customer has brown hair, right? That's what you
Yep.
want, right? And
Right.
so when that gets entered right now, because it's a blank canvas, it would be like goal, update customer
Yeah.
hair color or
So
something, and
yeah.
then it would
So
come back with null help.
exactly. So it parse out that okay. So you've given an instruction here. Now I know there's a thing. Well, I already know about customers.
Right,
Customers, I didn't know about hair.
right.
I didn't know that hair had color. So I need to be able to add a color brown
Are
to that
you
customer.
who whose train of thought are you describing? Yours as the operator of the commissioner?
No, the end user who's put in this prompt. This customer has
Right.
brown hair.
All right. So shall I
Now,
say how I would imagine you would solve that as the commissioner?
yeah, go for it.
Yeah. Okay. So I would suggest that you would say this is a class of anecdotal information, and so we're going to
Mm-hmm.
add a field to the customer record called notes. And
Mm-hmm.
anytime that you receive some information that isn't part of the customer schema,
Mm-hmm.
write it in natural language into the notes field. Check that it hasn't been duplicated within the notes field already, because
Mm-hmm.
someone else might have said that this customer's got brown hair. So you'd
Mm-hmm.
build up these natural language AI processed steps to
Mm-hmm.
go through, and then
Mm-hmm.
ultimately you might have to come to me and say, "Hey Tom, I need an anecdotal notes field in the customer." And I'll be like, sure, here it is. And then
Mm-hmm.
now the help is there that says how to deal with things like that. It may come to pass that the users of the system actually know we didn't tell you, but we switched from trucking to hairdressing, and so now the
Mm-hmm.
hair needs to be part of the primary fields of the customer.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Mm-hmm.
we'd come back, you and I would have a chat. I'd add it to the primary
Yeah,
fields,
yeah, that's
right?
a good way of doing it. It's like triaging. It's like let's have a.
But it's
We
triage and
know
tune.
these. Yeah, we know what the primary is, and
Yeah.
everything else that people have talked about
And
dumps
so
into this,
yeah, so this is
and so the
so
AI knows
that's
about it.
our
Yeah,
first patch. And then
yeah.
why I like this system is because it why I like this system is that it encapsulates the whole product management slash ticket
Mhm.
resolution slash everything into one continuous cycle because
Yeah.
right, and that
Uh,
that's a win. And so
there's
even though there are
even
some awkward
yeah.
parts about the way this system works, and yeah, there's some edge cases, I think when you consider it in balance to, okay, well, how do you want to, like, yes, there may be more direct ways to do the actual system that the user consumes, but have you considered that you'll need a product manager to manage the queries of when they want change? Have you considered that
Mm.
each deployment, you can't just turn up with this blank slate concept in the sales pitch and leave it with them and be like, off you go. You know,
Mhm.
when you add in all those ancillary things, it's like, sure, gasoline is great, a bucket of liquid, bang for your buck, off you go. Did you consider that you'd be at war in Iraq for the next 20 years? Like,
Mhm.
there's
Mhm.
hidden costs to not following this. This process encapsulates a lot of the painful parts of software construction, and that's why I like it, even though it has some warts.
Yeah, and I like it from the mirror side, which is capturing. This is what I've been calling user intent. This isn't a goal yet.
Right.
So said this customer has brown hair. It's like that's a statement.
Yeah.
Uh, However, capturing that in notes is great because the AI can, go into the app and understand that okay, so customers now have brown hair. Fine, but it's not going to break. Let's not break what we have. But if every customer has been saying, "I've got blonde hair, I'm brunette," or whatever, blah blah, then there's enough here that you could build another AI to say, is this worthy of becoming a primary field?
Correct, correct. Yeah, so our aspirations obviously are to be able to generate the code changes in Artifact automatically as well, because they're
Right.
not that.
Yeah.
I mean, this particular thing is pretty like, you want to add the hair field, fine. That's actually pretty easy to do. So you can really blur the line between a user and a creator, or a user and a developer in the system,
Oh
because
yeah.
the
Yeah.
commissioner the commissioner is actually should be available to the trucking guys anyway, because we're like,
Yeah.
well, here's a stuck, and then it could flick you into commissioner mode, and it's like, we don't know how
Right.
to
Right.
do that,
Exactly.
but if
Yeah.
you think,
Imagine the null path. An end user, Dave, has said, "I have brown hair."
yeah,
And that comes up. If the commissioner was available to the trucking guys, going, "We don't give a flying shit about what color hair you are. What's your address?"
right.
And it's like, if someone says, "You got brown hair," you say, "Oh, that's lovely," and still stop. It's like, we really don't give a shit. But what we don't do is alter the schema
Yeah, that's right, that's right,
to
that's
then
right, that's
add
right, because
hair. So,
natural language, like, it's starting to make me reevaluate what the hell I need the schema for anyway. Like,
yeah,
would it,
yeah. The
like,
schema is the enemy. I could have typed, or you could have typed, the customer has brown HIAR, and now we've got a field with HIAR in there.
it's almost like the
If we're
schema is only necessary if I want to do machine based queries. But even then, I could do AI based queries. They'd take,
Yeah,
20 times as long, but do I care?
well,
Um,
that's the only thing, but that's going to improve. The speed is the only thing. You could dump everything into
yeah,
a flat
it
schema.
could be
Um,
genuinely schema free, where it's just like,
yeah,
boom, done. Um,
yeah.
so yeah, so it is.
Well,
So
even then, you could do sharding, if it got very large. But
yeah, you'd run it in
yeah,
parallel, but the point is that I'm feeling a bit shaky as to what is the point of schema in customer records if there's an AI based version that we can do that just there's a minimum amount of information that we need. We don't much care what format it's in. You know,
Well,
it could
well,
almost be.
the only thing I'd say against that is retrieval time, which I know we're trying not to consider, but if you imagine trying to index all of the websites as a schema, that would simply not work in retrieval time. It'll be nonsense. You well, that's what's happening with ChatGPT, right? It needs 3 or 4 months in order to ingest, which is why it's still back on. I think it's back on April or something like that
Yeah,
last year.
it's still sitting on April. Um,
Yeah, that's the only thing, and it will get
well,
better.
this is the thought experiment that I run. If if it's possible to run a schema-free database, then I could back up the entire database on paper cards that just had some freeform
Oh,
text on what each customer was, and that could be the database. Like, why do I only need structure in my database if I want to query it by machine. If the machine is
mhm.
capable of understanding the natural language, then it is a database. It's just, you know, like,
I wonder whether we're overthinking this because
like,
how much
yeah.
data is going to be in this CRM? I mean, in
Well,
any CRM, in any curtains thing, uh,
th-
can we just like,
here's the funny thing. The size of the schema itself probably accounts for over 2/3 of the data storage because of the fact that you've got to store the structure information on each record. So
right,
the plain
right.
text version is actually less storage.
So you could give it a flat text description. I am about
Yeah,
to tell you about customers. Here's Dave. Here's
yeah,
Karen.
yeah.
Here's Lucy.
And this concept
Lucy
of
has brown hair.
fields, I know, fields and forms only really matters because of all the it's about 5 decades worth of tooling.
Well, that's interesting. Now, I don't know whether this is the right way to go, but remember I was talking about Prolog the other day.
Yeah.
Um, Prolog really had instantiated and uninstantiated variables and assertions, effectively. It had a couple of other things.
Mm.
But what you're talking about there is simply asserting, instead of creating any kind of schema, it would be a list like Karen lives here. Karen wants her bins picked up on this date. Karen has brown hair. Dave lives here. Dave has blonde hair. They're all just assertions, absolute flat.
Mm.
Now you have to worry about namespace clashes, sure, but that can be gotten around because you could just say when you want to consider someone specific, add Karen 1234, 1235, whatever. Um, but so long as the instantiated variables are unique, then all you need is a flat file. You
Mm.
don't actually, schema wise, Prolog had no schema. It was just a bunch of assertions and
Mm.
uninstantiated variables. That was it. I don't know whether that's the right way to go, though.
Yeah, I don't know
I
either.
simply don't. I
I,
don't
I
know.
think it's too big a change to handle just now, but
It'd be
it's
quite
definitely on
interesting
the radar.
to test, though.
Because if you could
How
do
many?
that, then
We're
you
at
could
144K tokens or something like that, right? At the moment,
128K.
128K.
So I mean, the thing is that you could make the creation of new systems much more attainable to everyday people if you didn't have schemas and structures, and if it was just the AI just processing this freeform text to make it, sort of pseudo standard. Like it's like a pseudo structure where it sort of holds a template and then it periodically goes through and just, like a very diligent human clerk, goes through and just
Yeah,
hand checks every time and just make sure it's still relevant and all that.
you know what? Because I know I know we're not in the place where I can dive into your realm yet, and it feels like that
You
would be a
might
good
not
test for
even
me
need
to
to.
do.
Yeah, because they're being able to run the whole thing in pure natural language means that you need less from me, which is good.
Well, yeah. How about so what time is it here? Half midnight. Okay, so we've got a few hours left. Um, how about I give a go at doing a prologue style, no schema, curtains database. Let's see what happens. See how
No
well it goes.
schema database.
Yeah. And by that, I'm just going to list. It's going to be a text file full of assertions. It's just going to assert what's true. And then it's going to be a very low prompt, very small prompt. I'm not going to go into goalies or anything like that. This is, imagine it's all done. I'm just going to, I think it'd be an interesting thing to test. So all I'm going to do is say the curtains thing. I'm going to generate as many assertions as I can with curtains, and then provide it. That that's the canonical. I'm going to ask it questions and see how fast it is, whether it just grinds. Because you're right, storing text is de minimis. AI, pretty cheap. AI cycles, expensive. Whenever you get an AI to talk to another AI, it seems to ramp up quite quickly. I think I don't know what the result will be, but I think that would be an interesting thing to try. And hopefully, what I find out will inform your gut feeling is why do we have a schema at all?
Yeah, I just hate feeling stupid like this. I'm like, why do we need a schema? We actually don't. Hang on. Let me just try and get all this out.
Yep. It simplifies everything if you just have assertions, isn't it? It's like if you have in your flat assertions, Karen has brown hair, and then you want to update saying Karen has blonde hair. You're just searching through, is there a contradiction? Remove the old one, put in the new one. There's no there's no implied information from the hierarchy. And this is something that I'm guilty of. I keep on going back into trying to imply information based on a state. But maybe we don't
What do
need
you
it.
mean? What do you mean imply?
So if you, what I've been arguing is having a hierarchy at each level of the hierarchy. You have a system prompt and the actions available, and perhaps you inherit those. If you go one level down, you've got a new system prompt.
Yeah, I don't
If you
think
have
that
that
works
system,
at all. But
yeah. But I've been banging on about that, and you've put a seed of doubt in my head.
well, it doesn't work.
Maybe that's not needed.
That's what the helps were for, is because they're flat. But then another level of flattening again is, why do you even need these? You still need some commands because, like, if you want to interact with an external system, you're going to need to make a
Yeah,
structured
it
call.
needs to bootstrap something. Yeah, yeah.
But if if you could design a system like a CRM that was pure natural language, suddenly looks a lot like any other record system.
Hmm.
like,
I think your example. Imagine you're in the 18th century and all you've got is a whole bunch of books and someone you're paying minimum wage for. How would they do it?
that's right, that's right.
Um,
And then if you imagine that same scenario of a candlelit, hardworking, intelligent person, or room full of
yeah,
intelligent persons, and you want to make
yeah,
a change, like, oh, we're in hairdressing now, update all the records, get everyone's hair color, like, you wouldn't go and make a new schema. You'd agree that, okay, we're just going to add the hair color on everyone's
right,
cards,
right.
you
And the
know.
important thing is you disregard how much effort
That's
is
right.
needed
That's
for that
right.
because that's
That's right.
someone
That's
else's
right.
problem.
That's right. And so this schema notion might actually be costing us, um, because it's unnecessary. It might be costing us a bit more than we.
Hmm. Right, I'm quite excited to try this.
Yeah.
Who knows whether it'll work? I don't know. But if it does work, then oh well. Number one, it'll make your life a lot easier because once the runner's decided which app they're talking about, then it's all flat. And well, the goalie decides what your intent is, saying
Mm-hmm.
we're talking about CRM. Runner, we're talking about CRM.
Well,
And then there's no information, there's no there's no imposed structural information beyond. So you want to talk about CRMs? Great.
well,
Here's the CRM.
yeah, but at that point, you're not even talking about a CRM, right? You're just like, you've just got this file system.
That's a fucking excellent point, man. That is spot on the point. Prolog was just there as a knowledge base, and it was there to know to draw conclusions based on a set of assertions and axioms. Now, the axioms we've offloaded to AI, so we don't
Mm-hmm.
need. This is why expert systems failed because you had to get the axioms out of the experts, and they were rubbish at it. We've offloaded that, so now all we've got is an AI and a bunch of assertions. Now,
Mm.
depending on the speed of retrieval, that should be enough. It should even be enough to spot assertions which conflict. Karen has brown hair, Karen has blonde hair.
Mm.
It should be dead easy to say, show me the conflicts, so I can go through my database and clean it up. If I'm a hairdresser, here are no, this is really good. Actually, let me think about this one. So here are the rules of logic that I lay down, which is the system prompt of the app. People can't have more than one color of hair. Show me where in my data it's dirty, as in Karen has brown hair, Karen has blonde hair. Then if you want to update it and saying all you need to do is update the logic saying people can have two colors of hair, but only if they've dyed one half of their head. And then Karen has brown hair, Karen has yellow hair, works and is consistent, but only if Karen has dyed her hair. That is exactly what Prolog was designed to do. Now, given retrieval time, I think that would make our lives much more or much less painful because we don't have to figure out anything else other than, are you talking about hair? Or are you talking about dogs?
Right, because a lot of the problem with goaling is because we need to find which schema system we should use. But if there isn't one,
Right,
you're just like,
right.
well, sure, man. Here's your dog
Yeah,
record.
exactly. And even you can mix. You could have a personal set of assertions. So I care about my hairdressing business, and I care about my dogs. All those would be assertions, and then you wouldn't even actually have to goal switch.
Oh,
let me
fuck.
try this. What I've got.
This sucks.
Yeah, I've got.
This sucks because how do we know? How do we know what we? How do we know if we have cut too much off?
We know when it comes that it can't retrieve our set of assertions. It's a physical limit, all right? The idealized machine would know that we cut too much off if there was something that we couldn't do that we want to do. But practically speaking, if we go too far and the structure is too large, or it's not even a structure, the flat file is too large, and it takes 12 minutes to come back, then we've failed because it's practically impossible. So there's two things. Is it practically going to return something useful in a reasonable amount of time, or is it going to reduce our functions? Is it going to be a function?
Okay, so there's a couple of extra components or different components that I'd have to
Indexing,
make.
yeah, I was going to talk about that actually. Yeah.
If you can have the concept of a record, which is just a piece of plain pseudo text, you need a template, the concept of a template, and you need the concept of rules that apply down the tree. So you basically need file system relationships.
What do you mean with file system relationships?
Well, you need to agree that all the records are structured as a POSIX file system, because otherwise it's all flat.
Okay, got it.
Right?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay,
got it.
So the other thing you need is the concept of a collection, which is a group of things that are similar, where the definition of similar is greatly relaxed in this scenario because similar is fairly arbitrary.
Okay.
Records are not collections but can contain collections.
Sorry, I'm making just some notes here on the wall. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, records are. What do you mean by records?
A record is like it'd be like a customer record is one example of a record.
But that's a schema. No,
it's not. It's not a schema. It's not a schema. It's a thing. It's a unit of natural language that relates to an object. You must define at least these two things, collections and records, or you don't have a system. You must define this directed acyclic graph structure, or else you can't differentiate anything from anything else, because that's really, not to get too fucking metalogical about it, but if you can't distinguish between things,
we're meta-national.
if you can't distinguish between two things, you don't have a retrieval system. You don't have a knowledge system. You need a special kind of record called a rule, where the rules include a mechanism by which you're going to apply those rules down that tree. So that's a rule is a special kind of record where the machinery, an artifact, can check it or run it or modify the records to fit it or alert you that something's off, things like that. So for the trucking guys, a rule for their record set of customers would be something like, look, you have to have an email address that email address has to be verified. You have to have a credit card number on file that's valid. You have to have a minimum balance of, say, $60, and you have to have your address verified with a geocoding service so we can find it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then the final thing that you need is a lens. And a lens is a way to describe a way of taking a record or a collection and generating some new record or collection as an output. And if you define a lens, then I can make the machinery that will run the lens on the collection to generate an index, where I think index is the wrong word, but it's like a derivation of the data set. So if you like,
Is it? Give me an example of lens.
a lens would be like, I want to find any Anglo-Saxon names in my customers collection. Obviously, I didn't store that with all the records when I collected them, but for some reason I've decided I need to know that now. The lens would say,
and you're using that in order to make it efficient by indexing.
It's a way of making it parallelizable. Because So
it's easy for you to say. Yeah.
if you can define the lens, then I can make the machinery that runs it in parallel, because the collection is a directed acyclic graph, which means that I can call them in parallel and do other tricks like packing it in the context window. Like if you've got 128K context and my records are only like 10K each maximum, then I can pack I can pack like 12 of them in a shot.
This is interesting. So,
right. And so
ask
these
questions.
Sorry. Yeah. No, that was it. And if you have these, I think if you have these 5 things, you should be able to emulate any existing schema-based database, but with the additional freedom that it's formless.
All right. I'm going to, because this is high-value stuff, I'm going to stop my current recording and then start a new one, so I don't have to fast forward. And remember to turn on audio. Okay. So, file system is dealt with by you, right?
Yeah.
I don't need to consider anything about that. Records are a heap of assertions. Karen has brown hair. Tim has red. Collections
and things like Karen's name is Karen.
Right. Just assertions. These are factoids. Collections seem to be the output of a lens. Or have I got that wrong?
They can be, but everything needs a base. You need a base position in the file system. Like, you can't just exist in free space. You have to be related to the root of the file system somehow. And so the collection is...
Right, a collection is close to sharding. There's no intent to imply any information about the shard. It's just we need to go beyond the size of the tin on one server.
No, not necessarily. You just need to you need to group it somehow. Now you need a base grouping because, like, I want to say because you just do. There's probably a much more eloquent way to say that, but if you don't,
here's a challenge. What's the difference between a collection and an index that has identified collections? So what do we need to specify collections?
The difference is that the index needs to have been built from a collection, and so it's collections all the way down, or indexes all the way down until the point where you didn't have an index to start with. So
okay, all right. So if I was to say people who need a haircut, dogs who need to be bought, holidays that need to be
Well,
happened,
if you
whatever.
had
Use the
this
collection as a
18th
collection. Yeah.
century sweatshop powered by
Yeah.
candlelight and beatings, then
Yeah.
where would they put their records? Right, it would be in a filing cabinet. Now they could subdivide them
Yeah.
further, but
We
it's
probably would.
still
Yeah.
in a base place somewhere.
Well, actually, if we go to back, let's go thought experiment back to 17th century. They'll be putting in them bound leather books,
Yeah. Well,
ledgers, and then
um,
those ledgers would go on a shelf.
I would imagine
So,
that they would use cards. They would have individual pieces of paper, and they would store
uh-huh,
them in drawers. They would have
which
ledgers.
sounds like an index.
Well,
Yeah.
then they would use indexes. Would be like ledgers where they've sort of compiled collations and summations where they've looped over all of the individual cards and produced something more concentrated.
Okay. Imagine our 17th, well, 1604. Our favorite company
I think that's
has got.
the perfect mental model for it.
Yeah. So let's say we
This
got one physical room,
it's
and the
it,
second physical
it's
room.
Oracle 1604.
Yeah, exactly. So we got a whole bunch of records, and the aim is to find the record. Okay, so you got one room, you got another room. So your cards, the index, you need that. Karen, what hair color has Karen got? So your index is there saying, you want to be talking about hair dressing business and
Right,
not shipping business.
right.
So like, okay, that's fine. And then when you go to collections, so this is a collection. You probably want, if you had an infinite number of
Right, so
monkeys doing it, you just read through everything and look for Karen.
that's right. I think that the collections are defined by rules. So they define set membership, and there's sort of the base collection is just simply because it exists, it's in this collection, and then you
Yeah.
have different types of collections that are governed by different rules. So collections are related to rules in that something is either in or out of a collection based on what rules the collection is applying. Um,
Yeah,
Either
yeah,
way, all
yeah.
right, I'll let you figure out how you want to call that, but I I haven't named
There's
these
definitely
accurately.
something.
But there is
Yeah,
a very small set of mechanisms that if you were in 1604, these are the only things you'd need if labor was
no,
infinite and cheap.
that is the part of all this that I really like. So as a thought experiment tonight, for the next couple of hours, what I'll do is imagine I've got an infinite number of clerks
Yep,
who are pistol whipped, and I
yep.
don't give a shit if they die. Um,
You
and
didn't have
I
to go
want
that
to
far, but yeah.
I want to find an answer to two sets of completely different information.
Okay,
What would be the way
so
of doing it?
that sounds great. I really think this is going somewhere. What I will do is I will persist with the schema-based system that we have, but
Mm-hmm.
because we are because the primary goal of the system is to get the stuck loop going, once we have stucks, we can drop in a replacement system that was schemaless after we're satisfied. Like, no matter what the
Yeah,
backing system
yeah.
is, it's not going to
Yeah, it
change
doesn't
what the
matter.
users want to do.
Yeah,
What the users want to do
yeah,
is still
yeah,
going to be the same. And all we're saying is that we can actually make a schemaless system that can just drop into an already existing
right,
schemed system.
right, right, exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm just really curious in terms of the structure of the data behind it, whether this works. Because if it does work, I
It
think it might be interesting.
it
Might be
seems
interesting.
impossible to. There's no way that it can't work.
Only with physical limits.
Well,
I think probably with
nah,
physical limits.
I think what you'll find is there'll be some interesting things. Like I don't know if you've seen the some of the I don't know if you call it hacking, but basically there's certain chains of prompts that you can put into GPT-4 that can make it dump parts of its training data. And so,
Oh, really? No, I've not
yeah,
seen that at all. Oh,
yeah,
do show. That'd be interesting
yeah,
and
and
embarrassing for them. Yeah.
yeah, because it's just just the way that it works, right? And so you could do a form of a SQL injection in the records,
That's exactly what it is.
right?
Yeah.
And you could summon, if it's schemaless, you could have these like stupid sort of bugs pop up in your system. It'd be the same as being in say 1604 and someone fills in their customer record form with a note that says the clerk's name, the clerk's children's name, and threatens to kill them unless it suddenly updates the balance of their
Yeah.
account to be $10,000,
Or
right?
exactly, or some kind of cycle, isn't it? It's like the father's name is the same as the child's name. The child's name is the father of the
Yeah, yeah,
father.
yeah. So there's all those fun
And
things, but I mean, like those faults exist in, there's bugs in Oracle,
yeah, of course
there's
they are.
bugs in all of
Yeah.
them. So okay,
Just need to pre-screen. All right. Okay. All right. I'm going to give this a
so
go.
this structure is exactly the type of mechanisms. The mechanisms are the same between this structure and the reckoner. Because the reckoner was supposed to be
Yeah.
plain text, but instead of being customer records, it was steps in a process or information in a company,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
this work is very related to that, to the reckoner work.
It is.
And
It is.
I am convinced that there are a small number of basic mechanical operations that I have to program into Artifact that can then allow you to do any number of these operations in natural language, and it would be a better fit for us.
Okay. Well, let's see if it works.
All right, so I will continue on then with getting the goalie slash runner switching going.
Yep.
And then I will push on with making a dynamically retrieved stuck loop. And then I will push on with publishing that stuck loop so that you can interact with it using the commissioner.
Yes. Good.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
tonight I've got two things to do. I'm going to give a first hash. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create two flat files of records.
Yep.
I'm going to sysprompt that says to look for collections, but I'm not telling you what those collections are.
Right.
And then I'm going to rely on the prompt to return questions based on those records. I'm going to try and make those record fields as long as possible. See if that works.
That's very cool, man.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
It is very cool. Second thing I'll do is I'll update the calendar so you know which evenings specifically or which mornings your time.
Thank you.
There's like 9 of them coming up. I think it's
Yeah.
only January the 1st is out of bounds, but other than that.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, nice one. Let's crack through this.
All right.
Yeah, that was difficult to start with, but I think we got to somewhere interesting.
Yep, I think so too.
Nice.
Okay.
All right.
We'll see you soon.
See you, man.